That word JDM in high school in the mid-90s wasn't a thing. We call it J-spec or Japan spec. When you go to the store, it's like, oh, there's the clear corner lights, J-spec, Stanley corner lights. It's not called JDM. It's because of this internet car scene where some guys find this, they've labeled it JDM, and then I discover this, I bring it to Super Street. I'm not the first one to do it, but I see it from these guys, I learn about it on Honda forums, and then I bring it to the mainstream in Super Street. So that's what helped get me my nickname, JDM Wong.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from, in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Jonathan, I'm glad that you're here. I was looking forward to this episode a lot, mostly because of the car connection. And now I see you're wearing this hat. I don't remember the last time I saw that, but those stickers used to be like all over San Gabriel Valley.
Right.
And for the listening audience, can you share what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so this is Mugen Power. The characters translate to unlimited. Mm-hmm. So this is a offshoot, I guess, performance division of Honda, not an official, but sort of a aftermarket, I guess, aftermarket brand. Yeah.
You know what's funny is when I see that, it instantly reminds me of like slammed lowered 4-door Accord.
Yeah.
That's what I would remember seeing that on.
Yeah.
Right? Is that accurate?
It reminds me of very expensive, only rich kids had it. I definitely did not, but it was parts that I aspire to own one day.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into that story. But before that, thank you to Paris Baguette for sponsoring the show with these delicious treats for the guests every week. If you haven't already, go check them out. City of San Gabriel on Las Tunas Boulevard. Go say hi to Jason for us. Today, we're diving into the world of JDM culture, import car shows, and the golden era of modified Japanese cars with someone who's lived it all. Born in Hollywood and raised in Pasadena, he turned his teenage passion for tuned imports into a career that shaped the automotive media landscape. Back in high school, he co-founded Team Macross 7, a car club that gained recognition across the SGV, using AOL chatrooms to connect with crews all over the SoCal. That passion landed him a gig at Super Street magazine in 1998, where he became a key voice in JDM tuning culture. Over 15 years, he's traveled the US and Japan covering the best sport compacts, helping Super Street hit 1 million social media followers and earning him the nickname JDM Wong. After Super Street, he kept influencing the industry, working with top automotive media and now managing major accounts including Formula Drift at the ID agency. When he's not immersed in cars, he's exploring new food, collecting sneakers, and vibing to 90s hip-hop. Please welcome to the show, Jonathan Wong.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
This is like the era, that I lived and grew up in.
Right.
I was more of a car enthusiast, but I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Jonathan, let's start with what's your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
Well, my connection to the San Gabriel Valley is, as you mentioned, I was born in Hollywood, but my parents lived in Montebello, actually just right down the street from here off Paramount and the 60 freeway.
Okay.
Literally down the street. So if you see those townhouses if you're traveling south and you're about to turn right where Chick-fil-A and the new Costco is, there's these little townhouses down. That's where we first lived.
Paramount in the 60.
San Gabriel. So if you go south on San Gabriel, it turns into Paramount at the 60.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes when you say Paramount, throws people off.
Yeah.
You say San Gabriel, you're like, oh, I know exactly where that is.
Yes.
So it's that little pot. We lived there until I was 1. And then my parents moved to Sierra Madre.
Okay.
I lived there until I was about 11. My parents divorced when I was 11, and my mom went to Burbank, and my dad went to Pasadena. So I went to private schools most of my childhood, from the basically up until 8th grade. So when my dad moved to Pasadena, I went back and forth between my mom's in Burbank and Pasadena until I was 13. And my dad moved to Alhambra, where he still lives today. So I've gone pretty much back and forth between Burbank and Alhambra up until my early 20s.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess I can't really say I'm born and raised, but definitely raised in
definitely.
the SGV.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Okay, so you moved around a few times, and it seems like that's quite a pivotal moment in your life, like your parents getting divorced.
Sure.
And it sounds like you bounced back and forth between homes.
Yeah. Let's see. What was my arrangement before? I think it'd be a couple of days here, a couple of days there, and then rotate weekends.
Isn't that so hard on a child to like have that?
It was tough, but it was just something I got used to. When my parents got divorced, I'd say I wasn't having the best relationship with my mother. And it was also a time for me to get to know my dad because he worked late most of the time when I was really young. So I didn't really get to spend too much time with him except on weekends. So after the divorce, it gave me a chance to finally get to spend time with my dad because now I have to split the time equally. And so it finally gave me the chance to be able to connect with him.
Oh, that's maybe like a silver lining there.
Yeah, totally. And I'd say to this day, my dad and I are very close, like best friends.
Wow.
Eventually my mom and I, we reconcile and we're still extremely close, but I have a much tighter relationship with my dad than I do my mom.
That's such a formative age for that.
Yeah.
I think any time that a child experiences that's tough, but it's not like you were 2 and you couldn't really remember.
I remember a lot of it. But I think that also shaped my independence. A lot of times it wasn't like my parents left me alone by myself, but I think back in those days, our parents did tend to leave us home by ourselves. And, this is, I feel like when things were a lot, I don't know, I want to say safer, to a degree, but it allowed me to, find myself in certain ways.
Were you a latchkey kid? Like, did you go home after school with a key and let yourself in?
No. I usually had one of my aunts or my uncles who were much older than my dad. My dad's siblings were considerably older than them, so they're kind of like my grandparents in a sense. So, up until junior high school, they would pick me up from school, or I take the bus home. And by myself for a little bit until my parents come home, or my mom would pick me up, or I walk home. Those sorts of things. So it wasn't too bad.
What kind of kid were you before your parents split up?
Definitely quiet, very introverted. I didn't have too many friends growing up because of going to private school. My social circle was extremely small, and I only had one best friend in my neighborhood. He's literally a kid across the street from me, and so it wasn't until when I moved to junior high school that the social circle grew a little bit bigger, but still private Christian school. And then when I finally transferred out to South Pasadena in my senior year of high school, that's when the whole world sort of opened up for me. Pretty sheltered. I didn't know too much about, I didn't think too much about, identity, as Chinese American. So I'm Cantonese, second generation. My mother's from Hong Kong. My dad's from Guangzhou, southern China. But my private school social circles, it was either, other Chinese kids, maybe another Korean, and then white, Hispanic, African, not too much variety. And then when I transferred to the Christian private school, that I'm starting to meet Filipinos, more Koreans, and so I'm starting to be exposed to a little bit more. But high school is where it's like, whoa, it's like open the floodgates of wanting to get out and see more.
Did that change you?
Totally. In one aspect, my parents' divorce changed me a lot. When you asked me what was I like before the divorce, so very introverted. And I felt like, I didn't do anything too drastic in terms of rebellion, but, I slacked off in my studies for sure. My parents would always say, oh, you're you have so much promise, but, you're a little lazy and you don't study as hard as we think you should be. The typical things Asian parents would say about what they want their kids to do. And, I also in junior high school, I didn't really fit into I guess the mold my parents wanted me to fall into. Like I said, they want me to aspire to be a doctor, a lawyer, something high money making, whatnot. But in junior high school that's where I developed, my love for music. So I'm listening to a lot of hip hop. I'm, pretending I can be a rapper. But these are all things that they look at me and they say, this is not realistic. You shouldn't be doing this.
Did you try to rap at one point?
I just with friends at school.
Okay.
Nothing serious. It wasn't like I felt like I had any sort of real natural talent to do it. But I remember, getting into hip hop as it was starting to rise. I'd read about it in magazines. Had no idea what the music was unless you see it on MTV. And then I just go to, local record shops and just stare at the selection, not really know what anything was, but because I'm reading about it in a magazine, they're saying, listen to XYZ artist. There it is. I'll start collecting cassette singles and develop the love for it there.
What are some artists that influenced you during that time?
I think everybody's first exposure is probably something along the lines of the Beastie Boys, Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, any sort of maybe G or PG rated that they could air on MTV. But I would say the most groundbreaking to me was NWA, because they were
awesome.
They were that first group to have that parental advisory warning on the album,
which just made kids want to get it more.
It
right?
made me want it. I went to the warehouse to buy a copy, and the guy looked at me and says, "Are you old enough to buy this?" He knows I'm clearly not old enough to buy it. I go, yeah, I'm good. Don't worry. He goes, "You're not going to tell your parents, right?" I go, "I'm not going to tell my parents. This is going strictly into my Walkman." And that changed everything. I never heard anything like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite rebellious there, isn't it?
Very. And I think probably when my dad maybe heard a little snippet of it for the first time, he says, "Oh, what are you listening to?" I kind of have to put it away.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, the warehouse. I remember that.
Right.
He would flip through a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever, those 3 cassette singles for $9.
Oh man.
I couldn't really afford the full album, so I try to diversify and get as many singles, which came with B-sides and remixes anyway. So
yeah.
I tried to have those. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm getting this picture of life for you, growing about and sheltered, as you described, introverted, and then you hit South Pass High School. Maybe there's 2,000, 2,500 kids there.
So
big,
many kids.
right?
Yeah. So going from private elementary school, which is maybe 20, 25 kids in a single class, and it's the same kids up until whatever grade level that it would max out, typically 6th or 8th grade. And then when I went to the Christian private school, it was a little bit larger. I'd say maybe 30 to 35 kids with an actual rotation of classes, so you can meet other kids in different homerooms. It's still not big. It's still a very small student body of maybe 100 total, if that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When I get to South Pass, it is more than I can count. Can't hang out with anybody. And this is me transferring to a school where I know absolutely nobody.
Wow.
Except for one guy who happened to go to the Christian private school with me. We both transferred out at the same time. So at least we had each other to say, oh boy, look at us. What are we going to do here? But that's where we found the, I guess I wouldn't really call South Pass the hotbed of gang activity, but we somehow found ourselves hanging with the Asians that you probably most associate with a gang or, a street, I guess, culture.
Did you feel like you were like an outsider, or you belonged there, or like did you
Total
assimilate
outsider.
quickly?
Total outsider. When I came in, I know I did not dress the way I needed to dress to fit in. Not that I ever felt like I had to dress a certain way to fit in, but I feel like every kid carries their own style. But as we started making friends with these kids, and
Were they gang members?
no, I it's very innocent, on the whole compared to a lot of other high schools.
Okay.
But there's always probably one or two that are probably a little deeper in the trenches. But most of the kids were, or most of my friends, they were very, very innocent at a certain level.
Did you wear like the belt with the long end?
Yeah, that
and the big khakis.
So part of the early part of, I guess, transformation or assimilation was convince my mom, can I get these pants? And she's like, this is what are you wearing? No, I absolutely cannot. But I got away with as baggy as I could. Could never get, I guess, those flared Jinko jeans like most kids got. But yeah, I got away with as baggy as what is that place? Miller's Outpost would let me. Yeah, I had the long belt. That was easy to get on my own and tuck away when I, am about to be picked up.
What about the hair?
I had the zero fade, super high pompadour with the long
bangs.
Yeah, at least my parents were okay about that.
Okay.
They thought it was a little weird, but they understood that I needed to have my own identity with that.
Going back to that time, did you feel like that dress, that style, that hairdo, like everybody had it, right? But it made you like feel did it make you feel a certain way?
Not anything in particular. It's more not like more powerful than, say, if I'd say before that was more like I bought Stussy before Stussy became what it is today. Like I remember there was surfing, and I was more trying to fit in with East Coast hip hop style. So it's like polo shirts and the baggy pants. But when you go to when I went to public school, and then I saw people dressing more flannel, baggy t-shirts, it was more just I want to fit in more with them. So it's not about trying to achieve a certain, definitely not trying to achieve, I mean, yeah, I'm sure at the time to look more gangster, but it's more just fitting in with everybody else, because it's a pretty simple dress code.
Yeah.
It's just super big polo, a t-shirt, a baggy pair of jeans. I rarely wore khakis back then because I felt like that was more for cholos, and all white Vans, right? That was pretty much the uniform.
Yeah.
Universally across the SGV.
I mean, it was super affordable too, right? And like I remember, white t-shirt featured a lot, and it was cool. Like you knew you looked like gang members, but you weren't really. It was cool until like other gang members.
Yeah, it was cool until you got hit up. Yeah.
Or the police.
Yes, there's that too. Luckily, I didn't get harassed too much. Maybe more driving a fixed up car in high school.
Okay.
Was when that
I see.
profiling kicked in.
So it's high school where the cars got introduced to you. How did that all come about?
Well, I've always been a car enthusiast, probably about as far young as I can remember, about 7. My dad took me to the LA Auto Show a lot. He'd always have MotorTrend magazines. I'd always look at Ferrari or Porsche features, kind of drool over, obsess over it, fantasize. I think like every hopefully maybe most young kids do. And I actually, before I got to high school, it was right around the time when after my parents got divorced, when my dad was living in Pasadena, his townhouse, my cousins lived with me also. And they're more of that OG SoCal street racer type.
Okay.
Like the true OGs. And so I would watch them fix up their cars in my dad's driveway. And that's where I'm actually exposed to that sort of scene for the first time. I'm just the kid who like, hey, we just lowered our car, we put the system in it, you're gonna come cruise with us. Okay, cool. I'm hanging out with my older cousins, we're gonna do this. And they would just take me around LA to cruise.
What were you cruising in?
My cousin had a Celica. It was either a 80, I think it was 81 Celica, and then my other cousin had a 85, 86 Civic.
Okay.
Or CRX, one of those. And so I've always known about people fixing up their cars from a younger age. Kind of forget about junior high school, and then it's high school when I was hanging out with these Asian kids, you start noticing the to me at least, the really cool ones are the ones that are driving fixed up Hondas. And to me, I gravitate a little bit more towards that than I would the gang stuff. And I feel like I have a lot of different likes. So I'm not the stereotypical Asian gangster, but it's because of my love for hip hop. So, that separates me a little bit, because I feel like most gangsters are not really in tune with diverse hip hop music. I'm into tagging and graffiti. That's also another subsector in high school.
Yeah.
There's the break dancers.
Oh yes. Did you break dance?
Very poorly.
Okay.
But that's the one thing. I said together we all look like gangsters, but within it there's little subsections there's the taggers, the breakers, the guys that drove fixed up cars. So we were all kind of united together to have this group. So, but I lean more towards the cars because I don't have a license, so these are the guys that need to get us around. Cars are so low, very loud, but that's the cool factor, right?
Sure. And so South Pass, were there a lot of kids fixing up their cars? And for those who may not know, like when you say fix up, what do you mean fix up?
At that time, the majority is you've changed the springs on the car so that it lowers the ride height dramatically.
We just cut it, but
yeah, cut it. We've heard from other guests. I've tried to listen to see. I feel like I'm probably repeating things that other people have said, but yeah, there's the cutting the springs, or at least changing the springs to lower the car. You've modified the exhaust so that the car is much louder, and the the air intake. So those are the three very basic things, and the car stereo, right? So
like a K&N filter.
Right.
And okay, yeah, for sure. And you would just hear it. You could just hear them driving around.
You can certainly hear them if they've straight piped the exhaust, which is removing the catalytic converter, so that it's just, like you can hear it. You can hear us a mile away.
So my car had a straight pipe. I had 2.5 inch piping from the headers back, and I had an exhaust. And so there was 3 blocks from the stop sign to my house, and I would just gun it, every time. And my mom's like, "Is that you? Is that your car? Why is it so loud?"
I feel like that's every kid that's ever had a modified car, the SUV, especially in the 90s. Yeah, sometimes my friends and I even were just hanging out at somebody's house. Hey, can you jump in my car? I just want to hear how it sounds. Just drive by, because we don't have phones or anything. If we had that, we could just record it once and just watch it. But here it's, hey, you go next. Okay, then you go next, and because we just want to see how low does the car actually look, how loud does it actually sound, and can you go 3 blocks away. Let's see if we can really hear it. And sometimes we know when somebody's about to get to somebody's house because, they're just passing that stop sign. You can hear them accelerating. Those are ridiculous things.
Or how about like in the city streets, and then a cop comes behind you.
Yeah.
And you're trying to drive, with your stick, not.
I think everybody instinctually lets off the gas, we're hitting the brakes like dummies. They always pull us over. Yeah, I remember Alhambra very specifically. There was Officer Clark that pulled everybody over, and I think he would scare us all by saying, "I wrote the book on modification, the vehicle code."
Okay.
And so he would always say, "Your car is too low. I know I can tell because I'm going to drop my baton, and if the length of the stick legally, if it met the middle of the headlight, that meant you were within legal lowered. If it exceeded that, you've gone too low." And so most people would fail. And obviously he would say, "Well, I can tell your exhaust is modified," and they get you on that. And then I was at Alhambra court regularly.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Those fix-it tickets add up.
Well, luckily, if you get them signed off, that you don't have to pay for that. And I think I can't remember how low the fee or how much the fees were back then, but I'm sure compared to today, much lower. They're not fun when you don't have money.
Yeah. Yeah. That was always stressful, like trying to drive, not to get pulled over, but almost certainly you did.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now I see, so you're around cars, they're fixing it up, and you're around multiple groups at South Pass, but you're also around cars then. Yeah. So where does your journey go after that?
I transfer from South Pass. I technically graduate from John Burroughs in Burbank, but I will always tell people I graduate from South Pass because all my friends were there. It's much easier, and even to this day, people say, "Oh yeah, you went to South Pass with us." So it's just one of these things where it's become South Pass is just the easiest thing for me to say.
Yeah.
After I go to Cal State LA for freshman year of college, I actually somehow miraculously get in as a mechanical engineering major.
Oh.
But I don't do very well my first year of college at all. College has never been for me. I didn't graduate from college, and probably my sophomore year, I decided to take a break and just work for a little bit. My parents were understanding of if you're not going to put forth good effort to be at a 4-year university, step down, go to junior college, make it easier financially on everybody, work, because I hadn't really worked up until that point. And so I think my parents wanted me to learn the value of, working with others, earning a little bit of money instead of freeloading off of them. And so I went to work for a little bit. I worked at a bagel shop. That was, I think, really helpful in getting me to learn how to work with people in general. It taught me a lot about teamwork. It wasn't so much about the money. It was more about how can I interact with people on different levels, customer to your own teammates. And then I bounced around a few odd jobs until I wind up at a company that is importing. It's an import-export company, but they happen to be importing some Japanese parts. And it's at this job where one of the editors of Super Street magazine comes by to do a story on the products that we are selling. And so I get to talking with the editor that's there, and he tells me that they have a need for to join them as an associate editor. And I'm thinking, this might be something I'd want to do. Also on the side, I was helping my friend Kei Miura at Import Show Off Mainstream Productions with he was throwing the first import car shows in Southern California. And so I was helping him and his team just shoot simple event photos, some feature car photos for their magazine. And I thought, maybe I can try applying to Super Street to see if I can even get in. And so I get in line to come in for an interview. I borrow a suit from a friend. I don't even have my own suit. I asked my coworker at the company that I was working at to help me write a cover letter because I have no experience in doing any of that, and I somehow get in and I get the job. And that totally changes my life from that point forward.
It seems like you made the right choice to step back from school, and then this opportunity opened up for you. So what happens next?
So I get into Super Street, and this, like I said, totally changes my world. Up until that point, I have not been anywhere really outside of Southern California except for New York and Hong Kong. And the job immediately sends me across the country to cover events, and that they really forced me to be independent. This is before MapQuest. This is you're navigating
Thomas Guy.
Yeah, Thomas Guy. My one of my first events that I'm sent out on. They're like, we're going to send you to this event. This is one of the East Coast's biggest events in Pennsylvania. It was near Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is near Harrisburg, I think, if I recall. So I've got to drive myself. I get lost.
You drive from here?
No. Fly to Philly,
Yeah.
and then get there by myself. So it was an adventure in learning how to get around a town that I've never been to before in my life. Forced me to interact with car show attendees, shoot feature cars. And
so you're covering these events, like you're shooting them, you're taking pictures, and you're also writing about it.
Yes.
Okay. And you're sort of in the way that you're describing these things and having to learn these skills of interaction. It seems like you're still maybe coming out of the introverted self at that point.
Certainly. Yeah. I remember one of the things I said as I think one of my first weeks working at the magazine, people were asking, just trying to get to know me, and I said, I'm from SGV, and this was a staff compromise of, I think, mostly transplants themselves, that they weren't really familiar with where I was from. And I said, I'm from there. I'm going to stay there for the rest of my life. And I didn't know how close-minded of a statement I could have made at that point, until maybe a year or so later, after I started traveling. It's like, wow, like I said, it's when you travel, you're eating foods that you've never experienced before. You're interacting with, even though they're Americans, these are not people from Southern California, so the vibes are different everywhere you go, and you're just learning so much about what's beyond the 10 and the 605.
Yeah.
Right.
So it changed your life, not just like in this opportunity to travel, but to experience so much, and you were just in this little bubble here in
Exactly.
SGV.
Exactly. And there's a lot of my friends that they are still kind of in this bubble. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, sometimes I look back, I go, that's a simple life too, which sometimes, I kind of look back on it, and I think, sometimes it would be nice to just be here and not have to worry about going out there or there or there. I miss the simplicity of just being in this area sometimes.
What did your parents think of it when you got this job?
My parents didn't think it was going to be long term, but they were excited that it was something. They recognized that it was not just another part-time job. They said, "Well, you're writing for a nationally published." My mother was very proud. She would go to the newsstand at the supermarket and purposely, I taught her, put all my magazines in the front, move all my competitors in the back, and like mess up the pages because nobody would want those.
Oh man, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So my parents would never tell me until much later, probably not until after I've left the magazine, that they say, "Oh, we're really proud of what you did." But I had to explain what it was that I did. The kind of impact that not just myself, but our entire, I worked with incredibly talented people that we as a team, we helped create this phenomenon. So it's not just me, but we helped create this sort of culture. And I think that's what shocked my parents later on in life was, whoa, you actually are somebody in this industry that where you are.
So talk about that a little bit. I don't know if it's humility there, but like talk about what is it that you actually helped create and bring about here?
Right. So Super Street, when they brought me on, they looked to me for my street knowledge of, I guess maybe Southern California car scene, and thought I could lend, just a little bit more credibility. Not that they lacked it, and it's sort of hard to describe, but the different magazines of the time, Sport, Compact Car, Turbo, Import Tuner, they all have, even though we're all sort of the same, they have their own kind of specialty. So Sport Compact Car is more, kind of like a MotorTrend-ish, where it's driving the car, really understanding how it performs and that sort of thing. Turbo is about how do you build a really high horsepower car, make it perform its best. Import Tuner is highly stylized. But at Super Street, because it came from the publishing background that produced Hot Rod, initially it was looked at as too similar to its Hot Rod sibling, maybe not respected in maybe the same way as its competitors. And so my boss at the time has always told me, we brought you on board to help transform it a little bit so that we could get on the same wavelength as the other guys. And when I came on, I was just starting to discover this, I don't even want to call it trend, but a style called JDM. So that stands for Japanese Domestic Market. And that's basically kind of an unusual term. It defines products that are sold in Japan for their domestic market. So meaning there were certain cars that Honda produced, certain models of the Civic that they only produce there that you won't find here. So for example, here, let's just take my car is a 90 Civic Si hatchback. They have that there, but the actual top of the line model in Japan is the SIR. So it comes with a different front end, different body, features, a different engine. And so some guys in like this early 2000s era of fixing up cars, they figured out that you could modify the US versions by taking the Japanese counterpart parts, like the engines and the body panels and whatnot, and you could convert it. So it's a very, without going too deep into the rabbit hole of, well, what is JDM and what it is, on the nutshell, it's just products that were made in Japan. And I know people say, well, I bought this exhaust for, this Grady exhaust for my Civic here. Does that make it JDM? Yes, the definition of it changes, but its initial definition is meant to describe products in Japan, or meant for very specifically for their domestic market.
So like my Corolla, my 86, the front lights pop up, and the in thing there was like to get the hood, the non-pop-up lights, the Treno lights that are only in Japan.
Exactly.
Like that. Exactly.
So that would be the JDM counterpart, or you would convert it to that JDM spec. And I mean, I don't know what kind of words were thrown around when you were in high school, but at least that word JDM in high school in the mid-90s wasn't a thing. We didn't call it. We call it J spec or Japan spec, right? When you go to the store, it's like, oh, there's the clear corner lights, J spec, Stanley corner lights. It's not called JDM, but it's because of this. There's this this part of the internet car scene where some guys find this, then they've labeled it JDM, and then because I discovered this, I bring it to Super Street, and I'm not the first one to do it, but I see it from these guys. I learn about it on Honda forums, and then I bring it to the mainstream in Super Street, and so that's what helped get me my nickname JDM Wong, was that because of how I some people say, "Oh, you sold us out," and I was like, "No," and you know, I've made so many good friends because of that. But in the beginning, it was like, "Oh, why did you take?" It's kind of like, if people will say, "Oh, I can't listen to this hip hop artist anymore because they're sold out, like they're too mainstream now." That's kind of what happened with JDM. It was so underground for a brief moment, and then after it came out of the internet, went to the magazines, it just blew up, and people were like, "Wow, what is this?" They're like, some of it looks exactly the same as my US car, but just slightly different.
So in that time in the SGV, you know, cars, every you know, Civic, Slam Accord is turning heads, right? And you notice right away when there's something different about it, headlights, tail lights, something, and you're like, oh, what is that? So it was just like, it felt like this need to be different and to stand out. And then you're bringing it to the masses, and they're like, oh, okay, every this is available for more people.
Yeah. And I'm sure by that point, the industry needed something to you know, freshen or you know, change to something else in terms of what do people want to do to their cars, because in the, you know, early mid 90s it was, you could only lower it XYZ, and then by the time it gets to the late 90s, early 2000s, the JDM thing comes along. It's like, oh, here's a new thing that people can do to their cars, and you know, so on and so forth. Every few years there's a cycle of what are we going to do next to our cars, and it's really limited because obviously they don't make certain cars anymore, and as these cars are getting older, you cannot get these parts anymore. And so even say, for example, a car like mine that I still have I still have a 90s Civic, but you know, I can't build that same car today because one, you can't really find a clean stock Civic. You can, but these guys are asking crazy money, maybe more than it was brand new. And then the parts, for sure, I could never replicate the car. These things are just, it's not like hot rodding where they've recreated parts and you could build certain cars and get it pretty close to what you know, like a domestic hot rod. What you could build those all day long, but some of these Japanese cars you can't do what.
Jonathan, we ask each guest to bring an item with them. What did you bring with you today?
I feel like a lot of people have been cheating listening to your podcast there. You asked them to bring one, and they bring two. I've got two things. One is this. I don't know if you remember what these are.
It looks super familiar, but please remind me.
So this is a center cap for a SSR Racing Heart wheel.
Okay.
And what it used to do was, you know, you install your wheel, put a plate on, or, you know, tighten down your lug nuts, put a plate on, and you put the center cap on. But what it has is, and I didn't bring it with me, there's a key, a magnetic key that locks and unlocks it so that theoretically people can't steal your wheels.
Yes.
But there's a finite number of keys produced. So you just had to have the right key to unlock it. But this is when I was in high school, when I talk about things that people had that I never thought I'd have because I just didn't have enough money. This is finally one of those things that after so many years of working at the magazine that I was finally able to do was the thing I really wanted to bring in here was my car, but since it can't fit in the studio for obvious reasons, I just brought one piece of my car.
Well, we can put a picture. You can send us a picture.
Yeah, I will. But I tell people that my Civic is my love letter to the SGV because I built it it represents my life as a teenager, meaning I modified it the way I wish I could have if I had the means and the money. But it also represents my style as an editor at Super Street. So I modified it with all the JDM parts. I used all those parts that I wish I had in high school. So it really is the culmination of, it's like, if you could go in that car and it's a time machine. You could see it and you say, oh, I remember seeing something like this in high school. This is literally a 90s SGV car.
That must be so fun to see and get in and drive all the time.
Yeah, my friends that still live in this area, every once in a while we'll do some cars and coffees or, you know, little cruises, and they will always say this is that SGV car. And And it was actually on display at the Peterson Automotive Museum for a little bit, and they picked it because somebody had recommended that the museum originally they were looking for a car that represented SoCal car style, and somebody had recommended to them. They said, "This is the guy. Like, this is the quintessential 90s old school SoCal SGV style of car."
Wow.
So it's very, very cool to have it there.
Yeah.
That was another one that proved to my parents I've made it because my car's in the museum. The second item is this is definitely this is a shout out to
Robotech.
all my homies.
Okay.
This is my car club T-shirt.
Awesome.
For Macross 7, Team Macross 7. This shirt, I mean, there's some companies on here that are SGV based, and yeah, it's got that really old AOL. Don't worry, the URL doesn't work anymore. But this, I picked this because, like I mentioned earlier, this reminds me of simpler times, days that I would, or late nights that I would spend with these really close friends of mine at cafes around this area. It's just us in our cars, just hanging out, smoking. It's just doing absolutely nothing. I just remember those years very, very, very fondly before working at the magazine. There is from like the 95 to 98. Just such an incredible time.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the simpler times are like the best, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. You want to get more into your story.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh.
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Jonathan. Jonathan, before the break, you were sharing the story of your it's not a hubcap, it's like a rim
center cap, a wheel, part of a wheel,
and your car club there, Macross 7. Were you a fan of Robotech? Is that why you named?
We're big fans of Robotech. I'm a huge Robotech fan. I remember watching the cartoon on after school. I can never really get home quite in time to catch it, but when I could, I was glued to the TV. And my mom, I actually have really fond memories of my mom. She would drive me out to this one newsstand all the way out in West LA so I could buy the comic books.
Oh, wow.
Every Saturday morning, she would take me there to buy it. Might have been like some just random newsstand on like Robertson, and then she would take me to the Golden Apple. There's a comic store on Melrose. And I bought as many as I could for as often as I could.
Wasn't the theme epic? You know, like how it's like dun, 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 like
it's so good. Yeah, that theme song. So you can actually watch most of the movies on Hulu.
Okay,
I think they have them now. Yeah, I love it's one of my favorites.
Harmony Gold.
Yeah, I know people have their opinions about Harmony Gold still owning the copyrights to it, but yeah, I was just on the Robotech Facebook page the other day. 40 years anniversary.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, this stuff is still great.
You know what's crazy though is like doesn't that seem like more mature content, you know, than what's being put out even maybe a decade afterward, right? Like those were much different type of storylines than what you see today. In cartoons.
I mean, that's the first time you see death or that I saw death in a cartoon, because Transformers, G.I. Joe, nobody ever died until it got to the movie.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime didn't die until he got to the movie. Duke didn't die until he got to the movie. But Robotech's the first time I actually saw somebody die in a cartoon. So it was it is actually very dark when you think about it as a 7-year-old. Like, wow, watching this.
Yeah. Very, very different time. Well, Jonathan, before we get back into your story, we like to ask questions from this deck of cards. called Icebreakers. So it's just a fun way for the audience to get to know us. So here we go. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Morning person, for sure. I wasn't always like that. I'd stay awake very late, sometimes into the early morning as a teenager. I think we all did. I mean, we just hung out all night and goofed around. But in this age, I'm definitely a very early riser. My wife hates it because she says you're up too early. You're moving around too much before I can wake up. But I get a lot of things done earlier.
Yeah. I think I'm exactly the same. I was a night owl, like as a teenager, young, in my 20s, seeing the sunrise a lot and sleeping, waking up when it's dark on occasion, and now I wake up without an alarm every day, and I wake up probably 4:30, sometimes 5. On occasion I'll sleep in, but I feel like during that time of the day, it's still dark, everything's so quiet. It's the most productive that I am.
Wow, you wake up very early.
Pretty early,
oh,
yeah.
What do you do that early?
I go through like a morning routine, that lasts like maybe like 90 minutes.
Oh.
Just a whole bunch of things that are like, grouped together. So like I know, this is what I want to do. But more so it's like I'm uninterrupted, text, call, like all these things, like I can just really focus in on what I want to do in that time. Yeah. And I'm getting older, so I get tired at night.
I typically fall asleep on the couch before my wife goes to sleep. And then I'll wake up in the middle of the night at some point. I feel like it's always the same point of time. I'll fall asleep on the couch maybe around 9 or 10, get up about 12:45, 1, shift over, get into bed. She says, you woke me up, and then fall asleep, and then I'm up probably around 6:30 naturally. I've tried to stop using an alarm unless I have to travel somewhere for work where I can't help, but I need to wake up by a certain time.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually I'm up pretty early compared to my wife.
If we could wake up every day just by the sun, like that's the best way, right? Like, but the startle of an alarm for so many years is not good.
Yeah, I had to shift my alarm to the most
gentle.
It's the one it kind of gradually rises,
yeah.
But even that, my wife said, turn it off. But I'm really sensitive to light, so since we had the time change, just the minute any light comes through, that wakes me up.
Wow. You couldn't live in higher up then.
No, what was it? Alaska. I went to Alaska a few years ago.
Oh,
and
summertime?
That was, summertime. And so I think the sun doesn't go, I couldn't remember. I think we were up until midnight or 1 and the sun still wasn't down yet. And so, you have to like close the blinds, try and hide as much light leakage as possible.
Yeah.
That'll be tough. That. Yeah, it's very tough.
Well, Jonathan, back to your story. So what are you doing now after all this? I'd say creating your way and opportunities. Like what are you doing now?
So now I'm working at the ID agency. It's a PR marketing agency, and we work with several different automotive clients, although we are not just an automotive specialist. We do a lot of non-endemic as well. But I work predominantly on Formula Drift. And so what I do is I will go out with the series as it travels to every one of its 8 rounds, and I handle on-site media relations. So that involves me, if you're shooting photos for a media outlet, I will help you get your media vest so that you can go out and do your job. And as just handle anything that they might need media related on site at an event. And then I also work on several other accounts doing social media management. So in essence, even though I've shifted a couple different types of jobs since leaving Super Street, I've still worked. It's still the same industry, and so it feels like I haven't really left it, or it hasn't really changed all that much. It's just yeah, I mean, these days there's not a lot of magazines anyway. So Super Street has already, they don't print it anymore. And actually, none of the competitors are published anymore. It's kind of the story of the internet slowly killed the magazines, and then social media is killing the internet. So yeah, we're definitely still in that phase of the influencer / social content rules all, and and nowadays podcasts. So yeah, I haven't really left the industry. I'm still kind of doing not the same thing, but my thing.
One more question before we go on
Sure.
to the SGV3. If you could go back at a certain point and change anything, like, and you can't say that you wouldn't change anything. Like, what would you tell your younger self at some point?
Trademark JDM.
Really?
I feel like if I had maybe trademarked those letters, who knows, maybe could have done something really interesting to the industry. Kind of like Hui Fong not trademarking Sriracha, right? I mean, he left that name open for a reason. Maybe technically it's one of those. It's like David Chang trying to trademark Chili Crisp, right? Not too long ago, but that created this whole. I think if I tried to do that today, there'd be a crazy backlash. But maybe if I had the foresight to trademark that name back then, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah.
But no, I would never think to have thought about it slightly. Somebody had said, "Hey, you should do that." I'm like, nah, not worth it. Or maybe.
I mean, if I just type JDM into any social media search, like there's a ton of people that have handles that use that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, Jonathan, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show where we get to hear about what you like in the San Gabriel Valley. All right, Jonathan, this is the SGV3, and we get to learn your favorite eateries now in the SGV. So what would be number one?
I've been thinking about this. Racking it in my brain.
You know what's crazy? It's harder than people think, right?
You know what? It's not, but there's so many, right? And I feel like people, I don't know, you tell me, are people kind of largely saying the same places, or does it feel like everybody's got their own unique thing on what they really love?
It's about 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah.
Okay, so I decided to do this from 3 different aspects.
Okay.
I decided to do just one place, my all-time favorite. I decided to do a place that doesn't exist anymore for nostalgia, and I wanted to pick something new school to me. So my all-time favorite, and I feel like this is, I don't know, maybe controversial to some extent, but my all-time favorite thing to eat in the SGV is Tops pastrami.
Okay.
I feel like it's like the the Pepsi to Coke, where people would say the Hat is the all-time greatest. But I like eating the Hat, but it's not my favorite. And this is probably because I grew up very close to a Tops. So to me, and at the end of the day, these pastrami's all come from the same purveyor, right? It's just they spice them and cook them a little differently. But to me, Tops has this very nostalgic taste to me. Even between the different Tops locations, people will say, "Oh, the one off Michelin." Yes, I know that's the OG, but I don't think that's the best one. I think the best one is the one off Walnut and
Allen.
Yes, I don't know why. For some reason, the pastrami tastes a little bit better. I feel like the one on Michelin that is a little bit tougher for some reason. But that, I don't know. I could be imagining, but my thing to get there used to be the Top Special, which was just that burger with the pastrami in it as a kid. Then that changed. It's changed over time to me just ordering the sandwich and just throwing the bread away and just eating the pastrami and nothing else. To lately, and I really try not to do this except for once or twice max a year, is chili cheese pastrami fries. I figure if I'm going to go for it, I'm really going to go for it. So that's my all-time favorite.
Okay.
For a place that is nostalgic, but no longer around, I really was trying to go between 2 places. So I am going to go between 2 places. Number 1 would be Tokyo Lobby. the one that used to be off of Temple City and San Gabriel.
Las Tunas.
Las Tunas and San Gabriel. In that corner, I have very fond memories of that place too. I feel like that's the place you went to when you've graduated, you finished another year of elementary school. You did something really well in your violin recital. We're gonna go there. I always ordered the C special, or you'd be in awe of the families that got the boat.
Yes.
Right. And if it just take forever to get a seat, I mean, maybe it was only 45 minutes or 30 minutes in my head, but it felt like hours. Mm-hmm. And then when you finally get in and they serve you the little pickled cabbage and you get your water, you're like, okay, we've made it. I'm gonna order the C special, and it's gonna be as glorious as the last time I had it. I love that place. I've been to the one in
Roland Heights.
Roland Heights, and it's not anywhere near as memorable. Even though it's exactly the same.
The ambiance makes it there too.
Yeah,
right?
I want that dark spot in the corner. The other one would be OK Cafe. That used to be off of New and Valley. There's a cafe there now, but the same building, but it's not called OK Cafe anymore. And that's the place where me and my car club, that's where we hung out every night. And I think I've heard other people, maybe you mentioned this, but yeah, there was always that point in the night. Cops would roll up. The security guy says, it's time. Everybody put your cigarettes away. You're handing out bowls of water to put them out, hiding them under, as if they couldn't see the smoke in the whole room. They walk in. You guys smoking? It's like that scene in Simpsons. You guys drinking? No. And then they leave. Okay. So it's like I spent so many nights there. Couldn't afford to eat there sometimes. I would just go there and they knew, here, eat our soup. Eat the free soup that we give out at the very least. And I'll buy, the only thing I could afford to buy is like the iced tea or the iced coffee. You just sit there. We're just hanging out all night anyway. We don't eat there all night, but just have something to snack on and drink and hang out. So that's my nostalgic, but no longer there. Third, new school to me. This is a place that I discovered peak pandemic. And it's actually right around the corner from my dad's house. Had no idea it was there, literally until 2021. And this is when friends were like, oh, what are we gonna eat? And my friends are recommending, go to this place called Dong Nguyen. It's a very tiny, like Vietnamese Chinese restaurant in the 168 Market Plaza. It used to be a Vons. It kind of looks like a Western town off of New and Valley. Yes, yeah, where there's like a little merry-go-round. And I guess this place has been here for as long as I've lived in Alhambra. My friends said, oh, yeah, you guys got to go there and get this. If you've never heard of it, or you've never been there, you have to go there and try the filet mignon over the red pasta. It's absolutely life-changing for me.
Really?
And I told my friends, I said, I've never heard of this place. I've never tried to say, dude, your dad's right around the corner. How could you never have heard of this place? Like, I've never heard of it until you guys have told me go eat, or you sent pictures in the group text. I said, I have to go. And then I went. I said, well, this is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, game changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Filet mignon on red pasta. I was imagining like red rice, like the Vietnamese red rice.
You can get that too. You can choose whatever carb you want, but like the picture when I saw this, I love macaroni, so it's like, oh, that looks so interesting. And then they give you the side dipping sauce of, it's like salt and pepper with
lime or something,
and just incredible. And it's so much that you could split it into 3 meals. Three. Wow. You could easily kill it in one sitting, but after time I learned how to portion it. It's just like going to B-Man's. If you get a plate, you portion it correctly, you can get 3 meals because it's heavy. The food's heavy, but yeah, Dong Nguyen off of Valley and New.
That's between CVS and 168.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I know exactly. Like I can see it.
It's just right next to the merry-go-round. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing those. So those were definitely unique. OK Cafe. Isn't that next to Taco Bell, right? There's like a Taco Bell close by.
No. OK Cafe is literally on the corner of New and Valley. So there's a bank.
New and Valley.
There's a bank on the southeast corner, and then it's the building right next door to that.
Oh,
Mission Hardware, right across the street from Mission Hardware.
Wasn't that JR or
Oh no! See, my friends are gonna kill me. JR, they're gonna be like, "What? You call it OK Cafe?" Sorry. See now.
Oh shoot!
I've got this completely wrong. Yes.
I think OK Cafe is where I'm talking about, and the one next to that is JR.
Yeah. Okay. OK is now. Oh, maybe that's See, now I'm getting.
It's farther. OK is on Valley, but it's farther west.
Yes,
but
no, you are right. That is across the street from the Taco Bell. See, I've got. My friends are gonna kill me. They're like, "What? You called our old hangout OK Cafe?" No, you're right. JR Cafe is the one.
Yes, JR is where I used to smoke, and they used to like
Yeah.
Oh man.
Maybe because it was one of those rare cafes that would let you smoke, because I really can't remember being able to smoke inside most of them, and it was the only place that's big enough to house all our cars, and big enough of that back. You probably know that back smoking area.
Yeah.
There's a little private section by the bathroom.
I mean, they made it a point to let you know, like that this was available.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. They were some of my friends in my car. They were so close to the owner that they knew half the guys by name. So it wasn't like we're coming in here and trying to smoke and do all this, trying to cause trouble. But they let us just hang out and do our thing there.
And you're right. The parking lot there was like a car show.
Yeah. And the security guy always looked out after our cars. If he felt like something was going on, he'd come inside and say, hey, and you should come outside. So
unlike other cafes, like I never felt in danger at JR, even though like there was like, people would look and you would, but I never felt tension there. No. Other cafes, I was like, oh, maybe it's time to go. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like you got to pick your pool halls carefully. Yeah, I know the conversation of IC has come up, and but we would go to cue ball just because it's a little bit. It's not that much safer, but you pick the right place, you're gonna have safer. You have safer options to like rely on. Yeah, for sure. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. Yeah. If people want to check out what you're doing or connect with you, what's the best way to do that? Probably find me on Instagram at JDM Wong. JDM Wong. Yeah, very easy. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Well, there you go. Another show in the books for you. I really enjoyed that conversation and going down memory lane and about the cars here in the SGV, the culture, and just understanding a person who has been a big part of something that I lived through and I still enjoy to this day. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to like and share. And you can check out the full back catalog of episodes on our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Warmoth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome. Nice mother. No, kind of mother.